Hey, today I'm going to show you guys where I get the bits for my kit bashes. And then I'm going to break down a couple specific projects and show you how much they cost. So a lot of you have been asking in my comments how I can afford to build all these custom characters and fully kit bashed armies. And it's actually nowhere near as expensive as you probably think it is. But I do want to start off by saying that Warhammer in general is not a cheap hobby. So this is not some secret hack to building an army for a tiny fraction of the cost. But like I just said, it really doesn't cost as much as it might seem to have a really heavily customized army. In fact, in some cases, it actually is a lot cheaper than buying models straight from Games Workshop. So the secret to my process is that I'm addicted to hunting for secondhand bits online. I've been in this hobby, collecting bits for about 15 years, slowly building up a library of parts that I can draw from whenever inspiration hits me. Since I don't actually play the game, I don't feel rushed to complete an army and just get it on the table. One day I do want to play, but my Black Templars, for example, have been a work in progress for over a decade, and I still don't have a viable army. So who knows when that'll happen. So if you are trying to build a viable army for the tabletop, but you want it to be heavily kit bashed like mine, I actually recommend that you take a hybrid approach to what I'm about to show you. If you hunt down and purchase every single little individual bit for all of your battle line units, it will cost you an astronomical amount of time and money to build your army. So in that case, I'd recommend buying complete kits and then just sprinkling in some bits here and there. But I've found for hero characters and HQ units, it actually is cheaper sometimes to build them the way that I do, rather than buying them from Games Workshop. And focusing on just those hero units and centerpieces is still an incredibly satisfying creative outlet. So let me show you how I do it. So I have a few main bit stores that I like to buy from, and none of these are sponsors or anything, I really do just like them. So Bitsbox is really good, they have a great selection, and the guy who runs it is pretty active on social media. Forge World stuff is a lot harder to find, but for that I go to Egghead Miniatures, and I sometimes even risk buying from sketchy recasting sites, but only for bits that are out of print. But my main go-to site is Bits and Kits, because they have almost everything. A lot of bit stores only stock the most popular kits, but I can always find what I need to find on Bits and Kits. Again, they're not a sponsor. Now, it is a British shop, so shipping to the US isn't super fun. But for that reason, I only make bulk orders when I need a lot of bits. I always have a ton of projects on the back burner at the same time, so in the back of my head, I always know what sort of thing I'm looking for. So for example, I knew I wanted to make Chaos Marauders based on Gut Rippas, so I got 10 of their bodies. But I also knew that I was working on this Black Templar's Terminator Chaplain, so I added this cool skull helmet that happened to be in stock, and a combi bolter from Horus Heresy because it looks cooler and more ancient than the standard one. And since I'm paying shipping anyway, I might as well throw in some Chaos Warriors heads and shoulder pads, just to have them for the next time I want to sit down and just explore ideas. So that's how I've been slowly building up my battle line troops, and the library of bits that I can draw from whenever I'm feeling the creative itch. Just 15 years of being a little goblin, hoarding my little treasures. But for characters and other centerpiece models, I tend to ruminate on them for a long time, coming up with a design and refining it over and over in my head before making any purchases. And I'm not joking here, it's a problem. This really is most of what I think about in my spare time. It's actually what I think about to help me fall asleep at night. I just go over the designs for my main characters, for my army, over and over. So by the time I decide on a design, I know exactly what bits I need and where to get them. Now they're very rarely in stock all at the same time though, so I'll buy the body, but the head will be out of stock, so I have to wait. But hey, while I'm here, I might as well throw in some more Chaos Warrior shoulder pads because I'm already paying shipping, right? A few months later, I'll get an email saying that the head is back in stock, so I'll rush over and snatch it, but paying shipping on a single head is pretty dumb, so add some more Chaos Warrior shoulder pads. You get the idea. But this is all pretty abstract, so let's break down a couple actual examples so you can see how much it actually cost me. I'll start with the Judiciar from my previous video, and then I'll break down this Terminator Lord, which everyone seems to think must have been incredibly expensive. So for the Judiciar, I've been sitting on these bits for a couple years, but let's see how much it would cost if we had to buy these parts today. For these legs and the 2 torso bits, it would currently cost $12.38. Again, that's with current prices and with the current exchange rate. So I don't know exactly how much I paid when I bought these bits a couple years ago. Probably less. Then we'd need this Deathwing Terminator axe, which currently is about $2.80. Now the head, backpack, and shoulder pads are all recast because they're out of print. And I don't know the legality of telling you where to get recast stuff, so I won't, but they added up to about $5.60. So that means that my Judiciar character would cost about $20.80 to build today. Now they don't currently sell the Judiciar model by itself over on Warhammer.com, but a similar model, the Primaris Chaplain, costs $40 in the US. So kit bashing this totally custom character cost me about half as much as buying a similar one from Games Workshop. So you can see that building your entire army bit by bit this way would be astronomically expensive. $20 for a basic Space Marine would be insane. But you can have completely custom hero units for your army for cheaper than the official ones. Now a couple caveats. Some bits are very popular, so the bit sites usually jack up the prices like crazy on those ones. So you might not be able to build exactly what you want for cheap. And also don't forget that shipping does cost some money, but I mitigate that by buying bits in bulk for all of my projects at the same time. But even if you bought just these bits, shipping would be less than $20, so it would still come out cheaper. Now let's take a look at a more extreme example, the one that everyone thought must have cost me an arm and a leg, my Chaos Lord and Terminator armor. This guy is based almost entirely on Perturabo, and Perturabo is a Primarch, and he's a resin model from Forge World, which are both pretty expensive. And on top of that, I use the right arm from Angron as well, another Primarch model from Forge World. So this thing must have cost more than its weight in gold, right? Well, nope, not at all. Let's break it down. So over on the Warhammer store, Perturabo costs $145. What the fuck? Damn, I didn't even realize that. But over on Egghead Miniatures, Perturabo's body costs... well, it's currently out of stock, so I can't tell you. But let's look at the old Horus body because they're kind of a similar size. And it looks like Horus's body is about $38. Not off to a good start. But this is an extreme example, and Primarch bits are always expensive. So let's check out what Angron's arm costs. Dang, $17 for just an arm? I'll admit that is kind of crazy. His sword blade came from Bits and Kits, and it costs about $1.44 at the time of this recording. I also used a shoulder pad from Death Guard Terminators, which was already in my bits box. But let's add that $1.40 to the total as well, just for fun. The head comes from the Chaos Lord on foot, which I actually can't find in the store, but I'm pretty sure I bought that kit from the Warhammer store anyway and swapped out the head. So again, I already had this bit laying around, but let's just call it $2. So that brings the total for my Chaos Lord and Terminator armor to just under $60. So definitely not a cheap model, but it's cheaper than Perturabo. But, I can hear you say, this isn't supposed to represent a Primarch on the tabletop. So how does it compare to what it actually is? And that's a good point. The old official Terminator Lord is currently $35. So my Terminator Lord is definitely more expensive, that's true. But I consider him to be a named hero, my main Wordbearer's character and the centerpiece of my entire army. Something more akin to Abaddon the Despoiler, and Abaddon costs $70. So my dude is actually still cheaper than that. Hey, Editor Mike here. Since recording, Perturabo's body came back into stock, and he's actually only $36, so that's good news. But the bad news is I forgot to include his backpack and his arm, which increases the price of him by a lot. Now, I didn't pay this much for him because I bought him years ago, but he definitely costs more than $70, so I was wrong about the price of him. But he's still a lot cheaper than what a lot of you were assuming, where you thought I bought both entire Primarch kits, and that would add up to like $300 or something. So I definitely didn't do that, and it's definitely cheaper than that. But he is more expensive than I originally remembered when I recorded the video. Sorry about that. So this hobby is not cheap. I'm not saying that kitbashing to the level that I do is the secret to building an army for a fraction of the cost. But it's not more expensive than the models you're already buying if you're already into Warhammer. And in a lot of cases, it's cheaper. In fact, my stock answer whenever someone asks me how much I've spent on my entire collection is, I have no idea. It's probably way more than I think, but way less than you think. But we don't get into this hobby to make money, do we? We do it because we love it. It's our passion. We do it to express ourselves and tell cool stories. If you feel inspired by my videos to experiment with kitbashing, I hope this video puts you at ease and gives you some ideas. This hobby needs more of your weird kitbashes, and I need more of your weird kitbash content to inspire my own creations. And if you like my stuff, check out my Instagram. Alright, like and subscribe, thanks for watching.